everything around you is purely based on how you view yourself, because it's through that lens that you now believe what you think you deserve. Welcome to the Third Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Ace, and I am blessed by the best, but guess what? So are you. And this is a unique episode, man. I'm recording this from my car, from the whip. I had my mic with me, and something hit my spirit, and I was like, I got to get this on wax. So if you hear some cars driving past, if you hear a plane going by, you hear a dog barking, just know that I'm out and about. I'm in the wild right now. But I had to get this on wax before I forget it. But before we get into the episode, I cannot forget that if you haven't taken 60 seconds out of your day, please follow the podcast, rate it 5 stars, leave a kind review. Trust me, it helps us out more than you know. It helps us see more people. It helps us get more reach. It helps us build this community even more. So that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Now, let's get into the episode. You got to raise your price. Yep. You have to raise your value. You have got to raise your value. Now, what do I mean by that? Am I talking about money? Ace, are you talking about money? Maybe. Maybe I am talking about your product or your service. Maybe you do need to raise the price. Maybe it is too, quote unquote, affordable. Maybe you are worried about, quote unquote, can people afford this? Maybe. But what I'm really speaking about is you have to raise the value of you. You have to level up the way that you see yourself. And in return, maybe you will raise the price of your product or service, because your business is only going to thrive to the level of your own identity. You cannot build a business to massive success if your identity for you is really low. You cannot create high energy from a low energetic state. Okay? So your business is going to reflect you, but this is really about you. The way that you present yourself to the world is what you're going to bring into your life. So the quality of relationships, your business opportunities, your job, friendships, family, whatever, all of that is going to be in direct proportion to how you feel about you. So if you're carrying yourself with your head low, head down, not really certain about you, you're speaking very low, you don't want to be a bother, your head's down, you're walking slow, you're not walking with any urgency, you're not talking with any confidence, and people ask you how you're doing, and you say, oh, I'm just maintaining, same thing, new day. Like, you won't be able to have any type of high quality in your life from that state of being. Myron Golden, a mentor of mine, said this to me, and it changed my life. And I've mentioned it before, but he said, people don't see you through their eyes. They see you through yours. And what he's referring to, what I believe, is that how you present yourself to people, how you speak, is the way that people are going to perceive you. So when you're not coming across as confident, when you're coming across very uncertain, unsure, you're lacking belief in yourself, that's how people are going to perceive you, no matter how they perceive you on their own terms. They can think you're dope. They can think you're beautiful. They can think you're fine. They can think that you're smart. But if you don't see it, you are going to change the narrative of how they view you based on how you see yourself. Raising your value and your standards is essential for you to have a thriving life, because the way that you see yourself and your identity is going to determine the opportunities you take, is going to determine the opportunities you don't take, is going to determine the friends you have, the friends you don't have, the relationship you're in, and the relationship you're not in. You have got to raise your value. Now, I'm also speaking from a place of someone who, for a large part of his life, did not know his value. I didn't know my worth. I didn't know how dope I was. I didn't know how fine I was. I didn't know that. People would tell me, give me compliments, and I'm always deflecting it. I didn't really know how to accept that because I didn't see it. I was someone where if someone were to give me a gift or to do an act of kindness for me, just because of how they viewed me, I didn't know how to accept that because my mind went to, well, what did I do to deserve this? Like, well, I didn't really do anything. So no, thank you, but no. Because that's how I viewed myself. I didn't view myself as someone worthy of someone going above and beyond for. Maybe you're someone that used to think that way. Maybe you are thinking that way right now. I'm telling you, it's due to the fact of how you view yourself and how little value you give to you. A few years ago, I was talking to a lady and we were talking about Jordan shoes. And I've mentioned this before on my Instagram. I don't know if I talked about it on the pod, but if I did, forgive me. We were talking about the price of Jordans and, how expensive they were and how it's not fair, things like that, right? So she was expressing frustration because her son really wanted some Jordans, but they were just too expensive and how, it's not fair that Jordan's price are too high and yada, yada, yada. Now, in my mind, I have this whole dialogue going on, but I didn't go that deep with it. But I did say this. I say, I completely understand you feeling that way because if you're comparing the Jordan shoe to other basketball shoes, it is very expensive. But I said, I want you to look at it like this. I believe the reason why Jordan shoes are more expensive than other basketball shoe is because the Jordan brand doesn't make basketball shoes. The Jordan shoe is not a basketball shoe. It's a status symbol. And so it's like you saying that the Mercedes or the Bentley is too expensive in comparison to a Toyota Prius. Now, I ain't got listen, if you got a Prius, you know what I mean? It's not that that is whack. I'm just saying you cannot compare a Prius to a Rolls Royce. Yes, they're both cars. Yes, they both get you from A to B. Yes, they both have to stop for gas. Yes. But the difference is you're not buying a Rolls Royce to get from A to B. You're buying a Rolls Royce to make a statement. It's a status symbol. And the Jordan shoe is not a shoe that you buy to play basketball in. You can play basketball in them. But really what it is, it's a status symbol. When you have on a pair of Jordans, when you have on a pair of retros, right? The retro patent leather joints, the retro 12s, when you got the retro 3s, the concrete joints, when you got those on, it's a statement you're making. It's a statement. So you can't really compare Jordan shoes to other basketball shoes because those shoes are for basketball. This is for status, how you are perceived in the world by having these on your feet. And so what I want you to understand, when you're listening to this and you're like, yo, Ace, like I'm with you, but how do I raise my value? Like, how do I see myself? The biggest piece of advice I can give you that helped me is I want you to look at yourself as a brand. I want you to see yourself as a luxury brand. So if you were Rolls Royce, you're Mercedes, you're Jordan, you're Louis, you're Gucci, you're these high quality brands, right? You're Apple, you're these legacy brands. You're never going to see brands like that, companies like that, products like that have a buy one, get one free. You're never going to see Jordan shoes. Now, I'm not talking about brand Jordan. I'm talking about the actual Jordans. You're not going to see those shoes go on sale. You're not going to see them, half off. It's just not happening. You're not going to go into an Apple store and see 50% off everything or Black Friday. You're not going to see that stuff because in their mind, they're never going to lower their value to make you feel more secure with their product in your possession. They're not going to do that. Another point to that is luxury brands don't market to everybody. When was the last time you've seen a Rolls Royce commercial? Probably never. How often do you see a Mercedes commercial? Every once in a while, but not often. You're not going to see a Louis Vuitton commercial. You're not going to see a Gucci commercial like that because these brands have a specific audience. And when you're a luxury brand, people come to you. They know what they're getting into. They know the cost. They know the investment. They don't need convincing. So when you carry yourself like a luxury brand, you have to understand that you cannot perceive yourself as someone that's going to be for everybody. And raising your value is an indicator that you're leveling up the people and the opportunities that you're for and that you're not for. And too many times when you don't know your worth, you want everyone to like you. You want to appease everybody. You want to be everyone's friend. You want to say yes to everybody. You're a people pleaser. If you don't know your value, odds are you are a people pleaser. I'm telling you, if you want to stop people pleasing, if you want to stop saying yes to everything, if you want to stop having these toxic relationships, if you want to stop having bosses that you don't like, if you want to stop working at places that you don't enjoy, it's not a matter of you quitting. It's not a matter of you ending the relationship. It's not a matter of any of those things. The answer is you have to raise your value. When you increase your value, everything else changes around that. Your opportunities that you've gotten, the relationships you've been in, the friends that you have, everything around you is purely based on how you view yourself, because it's through that lens that you now believe what you think you deserve. So if you don't see yourself of high quality, you're not going to have high quality relationships. You're not going to have high quality friendships. You're not going to have a high quality health. You're not. The key to change, the key to having high quality life across the board starts with how you see yourself. You have to raise your value. You have to level up how you see yourself. And it's not easy, and it takes time, because a part of this is not just making a decision to raise your value. You now have to act that out on a daily basis so you believe it. It's one thing to say, my standards are raised, my value's up. It's another thing to act it out. It's another thing to show up in the world as the new valued you. In how you walk, in how you talk, how you treat yourself, how you eat, how you sleep, what opportunities you say yes to, what you say no to, your boundaries. All of that starts from you making a decision to raise your value. And based on what you do after that is going to really further you believing it or not. There are a lot of people that are on social media talking about this, talking about that, and it sounds great, but you're not living it. You're still answering that text from that person that's not of any value to you. You're still saying yes to the same opportunities. The price of your product is still quote unquote affordable because you're afraid to raise it, because you're afraid that if you raise it, no one's going to buy it. But in reality, as a consumer, when something seems expensive, the consumer views it as more valuable. If the Jordan shoe was an affordable price, if it was $50, if it was $75, if it was $100, it wouldn't be as valuable as it is. It has to be higher than all the other shoes. That's what keeps it on a pedestal. A lot of people are not going to like it, but good. Everything can't be for everyone. Some people should feel like your value's too high. Some people should feel like your product costs too much. Some people should feel that your service is too expensive. Some people should feel that your standards are too much. Some people should feel that way. Everybody should not be in agreement that you raising your price is a good thing. You should piss people off. You should aggravate people when you raise your standards. It should not be met with 100% approval rating, because if it is, that means you're still affordable. Oh my goodness gracious. This is what happens. I'm telling you, a lot of my best ideas happen in the whip. That's why I'm glad I did this right now and I didn't wait till I got home. If everyone is okay with how you raise your value, right? This person's doing donuts next to me. He's a hater. But if everyone is okay with the price of your worth, it's still too low. It's still too low. If I had a service, right, for my if I had a price of coaching that everyone was saying yes to, that means it's too low. People should be telling me no. And the reason is because I just don't want to help everyone. I want to help the right person. I wish I could help people. That's why I have the podcast, and my social media content is for free. But when it comes to my time, when it comes to my expertise, when it comes to my effort and my energy and my focus, the price has to be high. Because I don't just want anyone, I want the right one. I want the ones that's going to listen, the ones that's going to do the work, the ones that are going to commit. It can't be affordable. And it's the same thing with you. Your time can't be affordable to everybody. Some people should be saying no. Some people should be saying that it's too expensive. Your boundaries are too much. Your standards are too much. I'm going to look elsewhere. And you know what you have to say? Great. You don't have to have these Jordans. No one said you had to buy a Rolls Royce. No one said that you had to have an iPhone. You wanted it. And if you want something, there's an investment. And then you have to decide, is this investment worth it? I'm not making you do that. I remember about 5 years ago, probably was longer than that, maybe 6 years ago, I had this client that was just, she came from another client and she came in on a discount. And I just knew once I said yes to that it was going to be a pain. I knew it was. And I'll never forget this. It was August of 2019. And she was supposed to train with me 3 times a week at 9 a.m. Okay. Out of 13 possible sessions in the month of August, she canceled or no-showed 9 of them. 9. And I remember I had to fly back to Michigan for a wedding. And when I came back, I told myself that we were going to have a conversation because this is unacceptable, because this is a waste of my time. Yeah, I got paid, but my time is worth more than money. I would rather not have you. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to keep that money though. And so I talked to her and I said, well, you're not getting these sessions back. She said, why? I said, well, because one, you didn't follow the cancel protocol. You're canceling as the session is supposed to be going on. Like it's 9:05 and you canceled. The session's at 9, right? So we go through a whole thing and I say, yo, I'm just going to be honest with you. Take some time to figure out this is what you want. And if you want to come back, I'll honor the remaining 4 or whatever there was left. If I don't hear from you, then I know that you're done. I didn't hear from her. About a week or so later, I got a DM from a woman who was in her 50s and 60s that said, hey, I love what you do. I was wondering if you had Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays at this time, and whatever your rate is to show you how serious I am, I'm going to double it. Did you know that this woman wanted the exact days and times of the woman that was giving me this headache? And she doubled my rate to show me how serious she was. And guess what? She was serious and she was always 15 minutes early. Why do I tell you this? If I would have kept the woman that was paying beneath my worth, I wouldn't have had room for the woman that was going to see me more than how I saw myself. If you are constantly looking at yourself as someone that's not worthy of success, not worthy of quality, not worthy of these things, if you're not raising your value, you're not making room for the people that do see you like that. You're not making room for opportunities that are really for you. You're not making room for the people that can really give you a great relationship, who you're in alignment with, who you want to spend time with, who are speaking life into you, They're not just calling you with drama and problems and you got to feel like you got to fix everything. No, you got someone that just wants you for you, not for what you can give. But if you don't know your value and your worth, you won't have room. And to be honest, you won't even notice these opportunities. You won't even notice these people in your orbit because you're looking at the cereal that's on the floor. You're not even looking at the cereal at eye level. You can't even see the opportunities. You can't even see the people because that's not what you're looking at. You get what you focus on. So how do you raise your value? How do you raise your value? Well, the first thing you have to do is you first have to acknowledge that you have been settling for a long time. You can't just raise your value without acknowledging the fact that your value has been low. You have to acknowledge that you're settling in all aspects of life because the way you do one thing, you do everything. So if your value is low in your relationship, your value is probably low in other areas too. So the first thing you have to do is you have to acknowledge that your value is low. And once you acknowledge that, you have to then say, okay, enough is enough. I'm raising my value. And what does that realistically look like right now? Does that mean I'm raising my value? I'm changing the way I'm eating. I'm changing how I'm carrying myself. I'm going to bed earlier. I'm cutting this relationship off. What is the next doable step of raising your value? Meaning, if I raise my value to here, what does here look like? This person that I raise my value to, does he have this kind of relationship? Does he have this kind of eating? Does she have this? Does he have that? What is required of this new person? And you make that decision. And then once you do that, now you just act it out on a daily basis. And when you feel yourself backtracking, when you feel yourself slipping, right? This is where community comes in. The people that you trust, the people that you want to have around this new valued you, let them know, say, hey man, I'm raising my value up. I got some new goals and new standards. Can you be my accountability partner? When I fall out of line, I want you to check me. You have 100% free reign to get in my business when I'm not doing what I said I was going to do. And what that's going to do, that's going to act as a guardrail for you that when you start to go off track, it gets you right back in line. But you got to raise your value, man. If you really want to have and be who God has called you to be and have what he's called you to have, you have to see yourself as someone that's worthy of these things. You can't just expect it to show up if you're not the person that can handle it. You have to become the person that maintains the career. You have to become the person that leads the people. You have to become the person that can sustain that level of income that's coming your way. It's one thing to have that level of income. It's another thing to be the person that not just can maintain it, but to grow it and to elevate it. A part of this is you have to become the person. Become it. It's not just lip service. Become the person. What does that person watch? What does that person eat? Who does he hang out with? Like, you have to become this person. And when you become the person, the game is over. But you got to raise your value. You got to raise it. And I promise you, once you raise your value, the way that you look at the world is going to be different. The way you look at problems is going to be different. The way you look at people is going to be different. The way you look at the world is going to be different. When the whole world sees problems, you see solutions. When the whole world's talking about drama, you off that. When the whole world's going right, you're going left. When the world's going in crisis mode, you're going to prayer mode. You're focusing on what you can control. You're not operating at this low level anymore. You're not doing it. You're not putting yourselves in positions where you're constantly being dragged down by stuff that just doesn't matter. You're focused on who you're called to be and your mission. But you're not going to fulfill your mission if you are at this point of low self-worth. You change your value, you change your life. Period. I hope this episode helped you. I hope it served you. Again, this is from the whip. So if you hear some noises, some breeze, some rain, because it's kind of raining right now, forgive me, but I had to get this episode off. I could not let this simmer. I couldn't let it. Ain't no script. This was straight from the gut and straight from the spirit, man. So I hope this episode served you. Listen, raise your value. Raise your value and don't worry about how it makes other people feel. Because if the people don't like this newer version of you, they're not meant to be with you. Change your value, you change your life. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, follow it, rate it, review it, share it. I love you so much. Be safe, be blessed, and thank you for listening to the Third Quarter Podcast.